Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christophe Chupot. I'm the director of the real estate division of MIPIM. And on behalf of the company, I'd like to welcome you to this MIPIM and this afternoon keynote address on the long-term prospects and strategy for real estate development in London. I need hardly say that in 2012, the British capital is hosting the Olympic Games. I don't think there is any doubt about the importance of holding such an event, not just for a nation's economy or its national pride, but also because of the astonishing real estate opportunities that go with such a huge sporting event. So, who better to talk to us about this than the Mayor of London? So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Mr. Boris Johnson, Monsieur le Maire.
Christophe, thank you so much. Messieurs, mesdames, bonjour, good afternoon. What a pleasure to be back in MIPIM for my third MIPIM, and to see and to judge by the large numbers of you that seem to be here today, confidence is brimming in MIPIM, and I'm very glad about that. Now, folks, if you read the daily newspapers as I do, you find all sorts of things that are quite incredible on the front pages of the newspapers, and they ask us to believe some absolutely extraordinary things, don't they? The other day, I saw someone claim that the former Duchess of York had set up a small business in London, charging £500,000 for the right to speak to Prince Andrew. Number one. We're asked to believe that President Chirac of France invented a series of non-jobs for various party stooges when he was mayor of Paris. An absolutely extraordinary allegation. And according to the papers in the last couple of days, they want us to take it on trust that the SAS, the cream of the British armed forces, managed to get themselves arrested by a bunch of Libyan goat herds, which I find outrageous and amazing. And yet, last week, ladies and gentlemen, I read a report in the Daily Telegraph that had what we former journalists call the ring of truth. It had the ring of truth, ladies and gentlemen. It was a study by Citigroup of the world's megacities, all the urban powerhouses that are set to grow over the next few years until 2025. And they looked at Chicago, they looked at Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Mexico City, they looked at Moscow, they looked at Dubai, they looked at Buenos Aires, have I mentioned Buenos Aires? They looked at Tokyo, absolutely, New York, and do you know which city they said had the biggest growth potential between now and 2025? No prizes. It was London, and they predicted that the per capita GDP was set to grow from $65,266 to $95,698 by 2025. That's a leap of 45%, my friends, in per capita GDP in London by 2025. So I looked at that story with the jaundiced eye of a former Daily Telegraph reporter, and I thought, fair dinkum. I thought at last we had some good, honest, sober, and serious reporting, because I have to say that I find those statistics eminently believable. Because I think we in London have so much going for us. We have the time zone, we have the language, we have a young and a growing population, and because we are, unlike many other European capitals, in that we are a great big sprawling garden city. If you'll remember, we have I told you this last time, 656 square miles. And because we, well, thankfully we have the English Channel, and we haven't been invaded for a very long time, London's been allowed to develop way beyond its original city walls, unlike many other cities on the continent. And it's linked, the great suburbs of London are linked by an ever denser and more efficient an improving mass transit system. And we have amazing areas of opportunity. Because of this sheer landmass, we have amazing areas of opportunity in London. And so part of my job as mayor is to designate these key opportunity areas and then publish specific guidelines about the numbers of new homes and new jobs that we're looking for. So I brought today to MIPIM a kind of Michelin guide. There you go, a smorgasbord. This is a collection of some of the most, not a very jazzy title, the Opportunity Area Planning Frameworks. It may not hit the bestseller list, but this is all you need to know about some of the most luscious opportunities for development in London, from Heathrow and Southall in the west to London Riverside in the east, from Croydon in the south, the third city of London, Croydon, to Tottenham Hale, the Upper Lee Valley in the north. But my message to you this afternoon is, of course, that our number one area for regeneration is in East London. Historically the poorest part of our city, but today the area with the greatest opportunity to benefit from the Olympic catalyst. And I want you to know that the work in the Olympic Park is on time and on budget and going spectacularly well. And last week I had the pleasure of opening the Velodrome. I don't know if you saw the pictures of the Velodrome. It's an absolutely beautiful building faced with luxurious, rosy-hued cedar wood. Have you seen the pictures of the Velodrome? It's a most beautiful thing. And you may not know how we get the rosy hue on that cedar wood, but I'm going to tell you, every month or so, someone comes along and rubs the cedar wood with rhubarb, ladies and gentlemen, in order to impart that rosy hue. And so you've got to understand that the Velodrome is generating jobs for English rhubarb growers and, of course, for a new craft of English rhubarb rubbers. And if anybody says that the Olympics don't generate jobs outside London, I'd point you to that. And so the Velodrome is already there. It will be followed by the completion of the main stadium, the handball arena, the aquatic centre. And sometimes I think the best thing we could do is hold the Olympics a year early. You know, get it out of July this year, catch the rest of the world napping, and rack up the medals. We're making such great progress. And the same goes, of course, for the ArcelorMittal Orbit, which you may not yet be on your radar, but by gum, it will be in 2012. It's already about 40 meters tall. It's going to be about 400 feet. 406, I can't remember what it was, someone told me at lunchtime, about a huge height it's going to be. And Orbit is, of course, where some architectural critics have said they think it belongs. But I would say that it's going to be a fantastic adornment to the park. People said that about the Eiffel Tower, you remember, when they built that. Our Orbit is predicted to have 1 million visitors in the first year of post-Games operation. And I believe that thanks to the work of the Olympic Park Legacy Company that I want to advertise to you today, and they're sitting here in the third row, Margaret Ford and Andy Altman, I believe our Olympic legacy planning is more advanced than any comparable Olympic city at this stage in our preparation, in the run-up to the Olympics. And we're starting to deal with some of the really big problems about legacy that have bedeviled other Olympic cities, particularly the stadium. You'll have seen the other day that we announced a preferred bidder for the Olympic Stadium, and we've got a solution that will involve not just athletics in the long term, other sports, but football as well. I think that's absolutely essential for the viability of the stadium. Next month, the Press and Broadcast Centre will be taken to market, and we're already seeing a great deal of interest. And we are creating in East London nothing less than a new quarter, a new district for the city, inspired by the very best of the rest of London, the Georgian squares and the terraces of the 18th century, the Grosvenor Estate, the Portland Estate, that have proved so popular over the centuries and that give London its distinctive character. And of course, it'll also have one of the largest new parks in the UK. I used to say it was one of the largest new parks in Europe, but then someone in Stuttgart protested. I see anyway, it's one of the largest new parks in Europe in the last 150 years. The Stratford Railway Hub, the best hooked up railway hub anywhere in the UK. The £1.5 billion Westfield Shopping Centre. Thousands and thousands of new homes, schools, nurseries, health centres, faith and community spaces of all kinds. And it would be fair to say that thanks to the work of the Olympic Park Legacy Company, we've got a lot of interest. We've got plenty of suitors, plenty of, like Penelope. She had plenty of suitors, that's what I'm thinking of. We've got plenty of suitors for the Olympic Park. A lot of serious and growing commercial interest. But the message I wish to convey to you is there are still huge opportunities to participate in the planning and the development and the construction of the new quarter. So I hope very much that you will stop by the London Pavilion and see in more detail the plans of the OPLC stand. And then, having looked at the Olympic Park and allowed yourself briefly to salivate over that, I hope that you will allow your eye to wander south and east towards what was the Royal Docks. And you may think that you know about the Olympic Park, but the Olympic Park, my friends, is only the beginning of our ambitions for regeneration in East London. Together with Newham Council, we have produced a vision for the Royal Docks and for Silvertown Quays, and I've got to be careful what I say without causing anxiety in the Olympic Park Legacy Company, but I believe that our vision for the Royal Docks is every bit as exciting as what is taking place in the Olympic Park. And we have made development much, much easier by marrying our LDA land and Newham planning powers to create a virtual development corporation. We've got about 100 acres of what was the LDA, now to be the GLA land, available. And we're open to sale, obviously, to joint ventures of all kinds. And that process is beginning now. It will continue for the next 12 months. And of course, we've received a great deal of interest already, as you can imagine, 45 specific development proposals of one kind or another. We're going ahead with the building of hundreds of, if not thousands, of new homes in that area, new offices, and new attractions to bring people to the area, such as the amazing new kind of spaceship Siemens Pavilion, which will be arriving at the end of the, it's going to be a kind of massive, wonderful exhibition come conference centre of green technology, arriving at the one end of the Royal Docks. We're bringing a ship called the SS Robin, which is going to provide another visitor attraction, and we're exploring the potential for other maritime exhibitions of one kind or another, perhaps including, if we can get one, a redundant nuclear submarine, Polaris or even Trident. Why not? And we are on course. We are on course to create, to make sense of the developments along the north of the river. We are on course to create more river crossings. It's absolutely vital that we have more river crossings east of Tower Bridge, if you can visualize what I'm talking about. And between now and 2025, we're bringing forward a package of crossings, including a new tunnel at Silvertown, a new bridge at Galleon's Reach, but we're starting now with the cheapest and fastest means of conveying people over the river. Can you work out what that is? Not a trebuchet? A what? Thank you very much. What, swimming? No, well, we could encourage people to swim because thanks to our investment in the Thames Tideway Tunnel, let me tell you that we will have the cleanest river flowing through the heart of our city that London has had for 200 years by the time that investment is complete. But I'm not going to encourage people to swim, not at Silvertown, no. I think it would be a lot to us. We are going to be building in fairly short order a cable car across the river, a cable car, Britain's first urban cable car. We're going to name it after the Secretary of State for Business and Skills, Vince Cable, in the hope that he will pay for it. This cable car is capable of carrying as many people per hour as a bus route with 30 buses on it. It's a serious transport proposition, and it will help to link up the O2, the North Greenwich Peninsula, the single biggest live music venue anywhere in the world, with the ExCeL, with the Royals, and with all the development that we're putting in. And it will link them up across the river in a way that is quiet and green and pleasant for the user. And that is very much at the heart of what we're trying to do in London. I think it was Mahatma Gandhi, ladies and gentlemen. If I know it was Mahatma Gandhi, because I checked this morning. It was Mahatma Gandhi, Mohandas K. Gandhi, who said that the future of India lies in its 70,000 villages. Actually, the thing I said this morning said 700,000 villages. There can't be 700,000 villages in India, because that would be almost one person per village at the time he was saying. 70,000 villages, he said. And so that was what he said. The future of India lies in its 70,000 villages. And I have to say, having thought very hard about what Mahatma Gandhi said about, I think he was completely wrong. And I'm afraid I think that the future of the world does not lie. The future of India does not lie in villages. The future of the world does not lie in villages. The future of the world lies in cities, my friends. It does. The city is the single most brilliant invention of our species. Because it is, I'm afraid, an empirical fact that in cities, rather than in the countryside, rather than in villages, in cities, people live longer. They do now. At the beginning of the 21st century, people in the cities live longer. They have better educational outcomes. They learn more. They are more productive. Their GDP is considerably higher. And, of course, they have significantly greater opportunities for reproduction than people in the countryside. And the clinching argument is that they emit per capita much less CO2 and other pollutants. And that is the advantage of cities over the country. And that is why more and more people are choosing to live in cities. And I think that is going to be, I'm afraid, the future of the human race. And yet, I also think that we've got to remember that Mahatma Gandhi was getting at something, wasn't he? It is important to think about the village. And so the secret of what we're trying to do in London, and the message I have for you, is that we've got to remember at all times to keep putting the village back into the city. That is what we're trying to do. Put the village back into the city. Because that's fundamentally what human beings want and what they aspire to. And there are all sorts of ways in which we're trying to do that. Fighting crime, making the place ever safer. And as I never tire of telling the mayor of New York, my friend, the mayor of New York, you're 4 times as likely to be murdered in New York as you are in London. The crime on the buses is now down 30% in the last 3 years. The murder rate, let me tell you, is at a low not seen since 1978. It's a very, very safe city, London. We're planting thousands of trees across the city, particularly in some of the grimier urban areas. We're encouraging more and more zero-carbon vehicles. I think we have more electric vehicles in London than any other city, and we're rolling out a network of electric charging points. And what I want to do is not only encourage a greener city, one that's more pleasant to live in, but also a city where people have a sense of trust and neighbourliness. And I'll give you one clinching example of the way in which I think we're generating that feeling of trust and neighbourliness between the citizens of London. And it relates to the glorious new bicycle hire scheme that we've introduced to our streets. And you may have, anybody who's been to London recently will have seen perhaps these vast blue velocipedes. Have anybody seen these things? Yeah. I'm very proud of them. And but the single best thing about them, there are many attractive features of the bike hire scheme, which we didn't yet have last year. But the best thing about it is not just that we've had very few casualties, no accident, no fatalities so far, and thank goodness and touch wood. It's sponsored by a bank, which many thanks. And they could do considerably more, in my view. We could do with another 25 million, but there you go. That's a good thing. But the best thing of all about the bike hire scheme is it's been running now for about 9 months. 9 months of operation, 6,000 bikes, 3 million journeys so far. Each bike is used 4 or 5 times per day. And do you know what? In the course of that whole period, we've only had 10 nicked by the people of London. Only 10. And in each case, we have recaptured every bicycle. And we have brought the culprits to justice, so they're facing the full force of the law. And we are taking away their right to free travel. And that I think it tells you all you need to know. That statistic. That we've only had 10 bicycles nicked. And by the way, just for ease of reference, if you want to know, if you want a relevant comparator, there is a rival bike hire scheme in another European city, which I won't embarrass by mentioning by name, except to say that it's the capital of France, where over a similar period, they had 1,700 bicycles nicked by the light-fingered people of Paris. So. In that statistic, which I have no hesitation in mentioning with due deference to my friends in Paris, in that statistic, you have encapsulated everything we are trying to do in London to bring the village back to the city and to encourage a spirit of trust and neighbourliness, because that fundamentally is how you will persuade people that this is the best city, our city, London is the best city on earth in which to invest. And I think if you come to London, you'll not only find the opportunity areas that are described here in this pamphlet, but also, of course, a neo-Victorian age of investment in public transport, Crossrail going in, the upgrades of the tube, massive increases in capacity. You'll find a safer city, a cleaner, greener city, all the things I've described, and you will find a naturally creative and ambitious workforce, ladies and gentlemen, a workforce that is currently exporting bicycles to Holland, we are, tea to China, and we are exporting increasing quantities of cake to France. I'm delighted to say, and so my final respectful message to the people of Cannes and indeed Paris is qu'ils mangent de la brioche, du forêt de Waltham, because that's where it comes from. We succeed in exporting more and more cake from Waltham Forest to Paris, and we're very, very proud of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there has ever been a better time to live in or to invest in London. Thank you very, very much for your interest in coming along this afternoon. I hope very much to see all of you at the Olympic Games in 2012 at the very latest. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Bring you to the protocol.
Say again? I have to go to the protocol?
Yes, right now.
There's no questions? I'm told there are no questions. Why? Because I have to go to the protocol. Okay. Oh, that's for the bicycles? Yes. I'm so sorry. If there are any questions, we will answer them by post. But I think we covered it. Thank you very much. Thank you.